Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love.
Please pray with me. And just take a deep breath in and allow yourself to be fully present in this moment, in this space. And as we just turn our attention to this time, we do this for ourselves. We let go of all of the outside distractions and we just focus on the now. And in this now place, in this now space, we know that there is God. That God is the power and the presence, the beauty, the love, and the light, surrounding us and filling us, everywhere present, in, of, and through all things. It's all good and it's all God. Oh, how beautiful is that, and how rich is that knowing and that awareness. So as we turn our attention to this time and to this message, I know that Spirit speaks through me, that the words that come forth are the words that support all people listening to offer a gem, a nugget of something for their lives for this week and going forward. And how blessed we are to have this beautiful, amazing technology that brings this message everywhere and brings us all together even though we are not physically together. And it's perfect and it's good. And so I just let it go and I let it be. And so it is. As we close out this month, the talk title for today is The Soul's Call to Freedom. So again, we're going to talk about freedom and continue this context of the soul's call. We are very aware of the fact that we do not have a tendency to thrive when we don't feel free, when we feel pressured or manipulated or imprisoned to whatever degree. It is really difficult to have that sense of thriving and to be able to grow and to flourish and to just celebrate life, because we don't feel free, we feel restricted, we feel limited. And so today, as we look into our own individualized expression of who we are as individuals, I want us to take time to recognize the authentic self. We have the right to express our beingness freely, boldly, and unapologetically. I get to show up as me. You get to show up as you. Freely allowing ourselves to express. Now, that doesn't mean that we get to go out and harm others. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that innate expression of who you are. We get to see the divine in ourselves first. Because unless I can actually see Spirit within me, working through me and as me, I can't see it in you. So we get to see it within ourselves first. The 4th of July is rapidly approaching, a day when we all get together and celebrate our freedom. How beautiful that is. And it means something different to each and every one of us, depending on your background, depending on where you grew up. It means something different to you. And so what we teach in this philosophy is that every person lives within the alignment of his or her highest spiritual principle. Every person lives within his or her alignment of their own spiritual principle. What that means is that you don't have to live your life according to me. You don't have to do what I think you should do. I should never give you advice. And in our philosophy, our practitioners and our ministers are taught to support you in figuring it out for yourself, because the truth is each and every one of us has the knowing within us. We have the ability to know who we are and how we are. Spirit expresses through each one of us uniquely That was designed on purpose. And so if we all start acting like each other, then Spirit isn't having that expression that Spirit designed initially, because we're all trying to duplicate one another. So I want us to look this week at how we choose to express our lives freely. Now, unfortunately for many of us, there were seeds planted within us a long time ago. Some well-meaning person who thought we should behave a certain way. We heard messages like, why can't you be more like so-and-so? So-and-so doesn't act like that. Your brother doesn't do this. Your sister doesn't do that. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? How many times did we hear those questions? And so what we want to do is we want to be able to kind of break through those bonds of whatever that conditioning was and just allow ourselves to be us, to be free. And that comes from study, it comes from prayer, it comes from just experiencing life. It comes from making a decision for yourself and just being with it. You don't have to ask 20 people their opinion of what you should do. You get to go within. You get to seek support through Spirit. And you get to allow the answer to come. And it will. It does. Every time. So the more enlightened that we become, the more our light radiates from us. You have talked to people. I know you have, because I've had this experience. I have talked to people where it's like they've got this kind of, maybe a mask, if you will, or they've kind of got this energy about them that they're like protecting themselves. And then there's those moments when that doesn't happen. And I see that same person, and it's like they've lit up the room. There's a brilliance to who they are. When we are in touch with that authenticity of who we are radiating light. And that is how we were created to be and to do. Doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It just means that we're going to learn from them and then we're going to move on. That's all that means. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: to be yourself in a world constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else. Ralph Waldo Emerson, all those years ago, made that statement. The challenges that he saw then, we have 10,000 times those challenges today. Because every place you look, you are being given an example of who you are and who you should be. I grew up way back in the days when there was a model who came forth whose name was Twiggy. And you can tell, if you didn't know anything about her, by the name, pretty much what she looked like. And for those of us who didn't have a body style like Twiggy, we were failures. We were immediately taught that if you didn't look like this skinny little young lady, that you had something wrong with you. And through magazines and newspapers and now social media and Facebook and oh my gosh, even the games our children play, pay attention to those. There are some games on the apps on the phones, and I'm assuming they're everywhere else, I don't know where else they would be, where there is a young woman who is not particularly attractive and a boy who is very attractive. And he becomes attracted to another girl in the game, and you have to fix this one up, you have to fix her hair, and you have to dress her up, and you have to give her the right clothes. What are we teaching our children? Where's the authenticity in something like that game? That hurts my heart to see things like that out there. And so where do we get those messages of who we are? Where do we get that knowledge of how to be authentic? Well, we seek out people that look like us and that behave like us. There's a documentary on Netflix that I watched this past week. It's called Disclosure. It is about transgender and non-binary people, and they are discussing what it has been like to grow up in a world where they had no images of people like them. They were not prompted in a positive manner to express themselves fully. And what happened in that process was they were either taught they were wrong, bad, or ugly, or they felt they had to hide the presence of who they were. And only now, today, are we starting to become more evolved and more aware of people in that lifestyle and in that light, and allowing it and accepting it and embracing it. But they didn't have the role models. Today, we have children today who are black, who can say, I could possibly be the president of the United States someday. Young women who are black who can say, I could be vice president, because they're seeing the role models. And for so many years, in the public eye, in art and theater, they all looked a certain way. And if they were someone who was transgender or non-binary, they were mocked and they were made fun of. To grow up with that kind of an example in your life, how do you choose? How do you decide how to be? How horrific is that? Here in religious science, we are taught to take a stand for all people. All people. Take a stand for them. Not be against something, be for them. Hold that presence, hold that light, hold that container for others to show up, to be who they are and how they choose to be. There's no competition in that message. We're not competing with one another. We're not trying to get better, look better, be stronger, be more muscular, be thinner, be whatever. No. It's allowing each of us to come forth as each of us is prompted to do. Here's something that may surprise you. You were not born to fit in. Your mother probably taught you were. Your father might have taught you were. Your teachers might have taught you that to some degree. But that's not what we were created for. We were created to demonstrate our greatness in our own unique way. That's why we're all different. If that wasn't the way it was supposed to be, we would have all been created identically the same. And clearly, that's not what Spirit did. So just be you. Be you. Just be you. Take a moment when you're making a decision and you're with other people to decide what you really want, what you really feel about a certain thing. When you go out to dinner, decide what really sounds good to you. Because we move into that place of duplicating others and mimicking others. We do it with habitual behavior just like that. It's crazy how easily we step into that. I had a friend who used to walk up to strangers when we would be out walking around and ask them where they bought their shoes, where they bought an outfit, because she wanted to duplicate it. Well, she liked it, so that's authentic, that's okay. But sometimes we can go a little nuts with that, right? So let's focus on that authentic place. I remember as a little kid, there was a young boy in my class who was left-handed. My teacher was beating her head against the wall, trying to get this kid to stop using his left hand and start using his right hand, because that was the only normal context she knew, she understood. And I remember sitting there watching this whole interaction thinking how crazy it was, because my dad happens to be a lefty. Happened to be when he was here on earth. So having someone in the room who was left-handed wasn't a big deal to me. But the teachers had a hard time even teaching them how to write, because they couldn't figure out how to get them to hold the pens. What is going on in our society? And it's been here with us from forever, that we thought everyone had to be the same. Everyone had to be taught the same. Everyone had to sit in the same kind of classroom. Everyone had to behave the same. And I'm here to tell you, break out of that. Break out of that mold and embrace your authentic self. Show up as you. Be all of those wonderful God-given things that you are. And don't worry about anybody else, because they'll all take care of themselves. What happens when we do that is we open the path to feeling free, to really feeling free. When I show up anywhere and I'm just me, and no one is criticizing me or trying to reel me in, and sometimes people think they need to reel me in, but when that doesn't happen, I feel free. I feel accepted and I feel loved. And that's the same for you. And that's the experience we get to have. Amy Bloom says this: you are imperfect, permanently and inevitably flawed, and you are beautiful. Embrace that. Embrace your authentic self. This week, take more time to practice just being you. Because no one has the right to qualify who you are. No one. No one outside of you has that right. Because if I'm trying to mold you or shape you to be a certain way, all I'm doing is trying to project my own images of what I think people should be like on you. And that's just not appropriate. And it's not fair. And it can feel intimidating, and it can feel so limiting for each of us. I recently watched an interview with Brené Brown, and we're all very familiar with Brené Brown and some of the work she's done. And in this interview, she was talking about the fact that we all have within us this behavior. And this behavior is this: I can go into a situation, a scenario, and do something. And 20 people will come to me and give me accolades. They will praise me. They will say how great I was, how good I was, how beautiful I was, whatever. But what I'm looking for is that one person who has something critical to say about me. And what Brené Brown said is the reason we do that is because inside us, in that very inner core of who we are, is a belief that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not really accepted. And as long as I have that belief, I'm going to seek out that one person who agrees with me, because then it's confirmed. I knew it. All those other people, they were lying. But that one person, they really knew. And what she talks about is we get to build that muscle, that strength within us to move past that and to recognize that we are worthy, we are lovable, we are acceptable. And then allow those wonderful positive reinforcements that come to us to really feed us and fill us. And not seek out that one single criticism. Because the person that offers that criticism is someone who doesn't even know you. Did you get that? Someone who doesn't even know you. A complete stranger who doesn't know anything about you. How you think, why you think the way you do, why you talk the way you do. Nothing. Nothing. We do not have to comply with the greater majority as far as how we show up. We do not have to live in that mold of someone else. We can take whatever teachings we have, whatever learnings we've received, and we can make them our own. And then we can show up as who we are authentically. So let's take some time this week and refuse to hear the negative comments. Let's take some time this week and really embrace the positivity that comes to us, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, and we choose not to hear it. So let's hear it this week. Let's enmesh that. Let's embrace that and bring that in. And then let's step up and protect one another from those criticisms. And protect one another from those moments in time when we feel like we've been isolated or ostracized or criticized. I believe we are creating a world that works for everyone. And in order to create a world that works for everyone, everyone gets to play. Everyone gets to show up. Everyone gets to be a part of it. Regardless of how you walk, talk, dress, live, whatever your personal preferences are, or your sexual preferences are, or your belief systems, or your political views, it does not matter. You get to show up. And like I said last week, if I show up in love and allow you to do that, then we can make a connection. And how beautiful is that? When we embrace these things, we embrace all people. We do the work that we were placed here to do. Ernest Holmes says this: we may be quite emphatic in saying that we think the universe exists for the expression of spirit, And man exists for self-expression because he is the expression of spirit. The two go hand in hand. They are connected. They're absolutely connected. So yes, my friends, we are God expressing. We are God expressing in our own unique individuality. We were not placed here to duplicate one another. We weren't put here to compete. We were put here to just show up and thrive. I encourage you to do that this week, because that way you are responding to the soul's call for freedom. Please pray with me. How blessed it is to be here in this space, right here, right now, knowing that the sun will rise and the sun will set. The skies will be blue, the skies may be cloudy, the rain may come, the birds will sing, the grasses grow, the flowers bloom. All of this happens, and I don't have to do anything about it because it's all God. It's all part of that expression that I know as God, as Spirit. And knowing this, I know that there is one God, and that God permeates all life, all creativity, all things, all people. And so right here, right now, today, I affirm that all people everywhere choose to embrace the right to show up in their own individual expression of who they are. That as we step into that place of owning our own authentic selves, that we do so freely, without any constraints, without any limitations on who we are. We just get to be who we are. We get to be how we are. And as we do that, may all be blessed and all accepted and all embraced, all honored, all respected. What a beautiful world that is. And that's the picture and the beauty that I hold on to this day and every day going forward. A world that works for everyone. And so I give thanks for all of this, and I give thanks for this time. I give thanks for this opportunity to be in this presence of truth and expression. I give thanks for the very power in all things that we can tap into. And I know that God is present everywhere. God is good, and God permeates all things, lives within each and every one of us. And so in this place of connectedness, we join together, embracing one another in life. I call it good. I call it perfect. I let it go. I let it be. And so it is.
To the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get